as we move on now to the DAO, a decentralized yet autonomous organization. And when we hear the word decentralized, you can Google it, and it doesn't always come up with something good. Because the problem with something being decentralized, well, someone else perceives it as being, there's not a lot of trust, or how do I know who people are? The autonomous action, and then the organizational side. We're going to learn about the structure of it. And we're going to talk about the future, or more importantly, the present. That what is available today and what can be done around a DAO. And it starts with somebody that I trust, Pablo, that is the moderator, that will be bringing up his panel and telling us why a DAO matters. Not necessarily into the future, but more importantly, in the present. Let's bring him up now.
Thank you. Buenas tardes. Today we're going to do a little experiment. We're going to do something a little bit different. We're talking about DAOs, decentralized autonomous organizations. These are organizations where individuals can participate and collaborate spontaneously. So we decided to add one more chair. And this chair is for any of you who would like to come and participate. I know this is difficult because it means that you need to expose yourself to come up here. We are not expecting an expert. There we go. There we go. There, thank you.
Hey,
and what we're going to do, what is your name, sir?
Andrew.
So we have Andrew, who's participating with us. So what we're going to do is every 10 minutes, somebody else can come up, okay? And Andrew will give his place to there. So Andrew, tell us about yourself.
Okay, so I'm an accidental investor in crypto. Now I'm interested in the metaverse, NFTs. But I met a landlord of an Airbnb who told me I should get involved. And he walked me through the process, because there are quite a lot of barriers to entry. And so he showed me how to set up a wallet, how to fund it. And I invested a fair amount, and then realized I needed to get education. So I joined a network. It was Brian Rose, London Real, and he set up a DeFi Academy, and I did various courses with him. I'm a student at Zurich, ETH, and St. Gallen universities. I'm doing an executive MBA, so I set up an investment club with fellow students because they were very interested in the area. But we're learning by doing, so we're actually investing and learning by doing it rather than taking a purely theoretical approach.
Excellent. Well, here it's very interesting because we're going to see what a lawyer, an investor, a computer scientist, and an agriculture engineer can do in terms of a DAO. So here, let me present, first, we have the two Nicolas, the Italian and the Germany. So, Nicola, can you present yourself? You're from Protocol Labs, a computer scientist. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
I'm Nicola. I work at Protocol Labs, and it's a research and development company that works on building infrastructure for this new internet. We build several protocols. One is IPFS and Filecoin. These are protocols that are widely used. 95% of NFTs or more at this point are stored. The data of these NFTs are stored on our networks. And we build pieces of infrastructure so that people can build on top.
Nicolas?
Yeah, my name is Nicolas. I've been originally trained as a lawyer in Germany and the United States. I never really quite worked in a strictly legal profession, and I had a first startup in the late 90s, so I did Web 1, Web 2, worked in telecoms, and have been in this space since 2015. And I initiated with two other co-founders Q blockchain, and we're focusing and providing a decentralized governance system for the Web3 world, where we believe that code as law is a great innovation, but it has its limitations as soon as you want to do any kind of judgment decisions in a decentralized fashion. And we're providing a full, like an infrastructure for protocols or other businesses to incorporate that and do decentralized governance.
Excellent. I want to ask a question of it. How many people know what a DAO is? Raise your hands. Wow, we're okay. Okay, good. So this is really good. I'm really happy because we have majority of people here really interested in DAOs. Now, one of the main things that we have is, what is a DAO? Because the definition of a DAO is maybe one of the most complex things that we can define. And I think that depending where you're coming from, you have a different. And today we had a conversation. We were sitting at the table, and we came up with different definitions of DAO. From the computer science, for example, what is your definition of a DAO?
So DAO stands for Decentralized Autonomous Organization, and I see DAOs as programs. A DAO is a program where has written rules that ideally will incentivize different entities to cooperate and offer a service together. In the case, Filecoin is not really a DAO, but you can think Filecoin is a decentralized storage network. Anyone can bring storage, and anyone can buy storage. Think of it as a decentralized Dropbox. In a way, we are writing incentives in our protocol so that people would be incentivized, so the network participants are incentivized to provide service to any client that wants to get storage. And the storage providers in our network, they all coordinate each other to make sure that good service is being offered.
Cool. What about you? What is your definition?
So for me, if I think about DAOs, what is most important is it needs to be a form of decentral organization. So the way either protocols or people work together needs to be in a truly decentralized fashion, so without any single entities like filling in between. So that's the most important. I personally believe that everything will, for a long time at least, and that's where we had a discussion and differ a little bit, everything will include people at some point. Like even if they run nodes, if they decide to switch off their nodes, there will not be a system anymore. I do, however, see that in the future, more and more elements will be able to code and will move into code as law, which is good, But we'll always need that decentralized aspect, truly decentralized, and I think that's what I look at.
And Andrew, you that are participating now, and I like very much that you're learning and you're, I think we're very similar in that sense. I started my PhD on the DAO, so we're like probably the oldest. You and I as students.
We're brothers.
We're brothers and students. So, I mean, in terms of decentralized autonomous organizations, what do you think? I mean, we have two definitions here. What is your You have a definition. Good, excellent.
Okay, so it's very practical. From the perspective of an investor, there's a group of us, we want to buy an asset which is maybe more valuable than each of us can purchase on our own. So it's a collaboration, and we can acquire the asset, so it might be a block of plots of land in a metaverse, and then that layer manages it for us. So that if someone wants to opt out, they can sell their tokens back to the DAO without having to sell off the whole estate and split up the value that we have from the collaboration. So for me, it's a practical tool to reach an objective.
That's a very good definition. That's a very good definition. And this also explains to you that once we tap in to the collective brain of everybody who wants to participate, everybody can contribute. And I think that's one of the main things that we have in DAOs. DAOs are, they're very disorganized organizations for the people who look at it from the outside and who are not used to having somebody participate. But when we do let that happen, we enrich the results in an incredible manner because everybody has something to contribute. It's the concept of expert is a concept that I don't, I think anybody can contribute to the collective, and the sum of us is greater than any one of us. And I think this is what DAOs bring. Now, as I was talking now, we have some great challenges in the DAOs. So what do you think, Nicola, are some of the biggest challenges that DAOs face?
I think we have seen different sizes of DAOs, from like a small group of investors to larger projects to a bigger economy of storage for decentralized storage. So most of these DAOs have a problem that when they're small, they're very easy to coordinate. The moment they get big, coordination becomes complex, and becomes complex for multiple reasons. It could be voter participation. It's very low, and so it's very difficult to move forward very important governance consensus-based decisions. So in my opinion, I think we will differ on this. The challenge is how do we make most of the bottlenecks or most of the consensus points that are current bottlenecks more programmable or more automatic. And so can we automate governance, or can we make some decisions faster, or can we build better tools for governance?
What about you?
Maybe adding to that, I believe, I fully agree with the voter participation. I would add that in a DAO, like everywhere else, you have, oversimplifying, two types of questions. One that are relatively easy to answer with yes and no, and others where you have a judgment, an element of judgment. And what we will need in DAOs is tooling and infrastructure to enable both. And enable a group of people to either also go along judgments. Like if you would invest, there's an element of judgment. And we need to do this in a decentralized fashion. That is, as I said, very important for me. But we need both.
Right. And you, Andrew, you've participated in a DAO. What have you seen as a challenge, being in the practical aspects of participating?
I think it's educational, so it's just getting people familiar with what a DAO is, how it can work, what is the utility. I'm less worried about the technical aspects because they will get sorted. I think it's really a question of engagement, and the more people become familiar with it, then they'll work out the problems just by their participation.
Excellent. We've come to the halfway. Somebody else would like to participate? Here we go.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you. Big hand of applause for Andrew. Hello.
Hey, how are you?
How are you? What's your name?
My name is Stefan.
Okay, and tell us a little bit about yourself.
I'm a co-founder of a company that does a DeFi wallet, and I'm kind of a DeFi maxi in that sense.
Okay.
And we just recently ran into this issue of creating an innovative thing that gets deployed on Algorand as a super composable protocol, specifically about limit orders and sort of order routing, which doesn't exist yet. And we ran into the problem of counterparty. So we had a lawyer write up the thing, and we looked at who is the counterparty, and then it's not clear who the counterparty is of the deployed protocol. So I think, I'm pretty sure it has something to do with the DAO.
Cool. That's excellent.
So we're trying to approach this from first principles and sort of figure out how we structure the counterparty for the protocol.
Cool. It's good because the next thing that we're going to board is what are the benefits of a DAO? And again, I love this because we have sort of a legal perspective, we have the technical perspective. You're going to bring a whole new dimension into this. And this is where this type of participation becomes really rich. What do you think, Nicola, are the main benefits that DAOs are bringing into the future?
Right. Up until now, we've been users of products, and we've not been able to owning decision making in the products that we use. So this is definitely like the first door that we open with DAOs. As a DAO member, you can not only participate in the governance, but you could also participate in improving the ecosystem of the DAO. So that's definitely one thing. But so these are as users. Then there are things that you can do with DAOs, which is coordinating large-scale organizations that can perform operations or have users beyond a single nation. And so you have this borderless, permissionless organization that we don't really know how to operate this type of organization in a very efficient way at a large scale just yet. But I think the opportunities there are quite large.
How about, let me pass to Nicola and then on to you.
No,
he has
I-
the mic.
So adding to that, where I fully agree, is where we have the opportunity to democratize private law for large organizations. And organizations that are anonymous, that span across borders, because right now, these kind of methods are only open to like big companies. When they engage in international trade, they have like big contracts they write up, they go to private arbitration, they have access to that. As a DAO, you could also do this because you could have the tools, you could use these tools. That's one. I think the other one is, and we've seen it with DeFi and other, as a big organization, if you're able to organize yourself that big, you can take on risk and just do all kinds of business models or entrepreneurial endeavors that are not possible for anybody else but a really big organization where you spread the risk across like multiple parties.
What do you think?
I agree to all of that. From a practical standpoint, my question is very often, there are all those possibilities what a DAO can be. What is the minimum thing a DAO can be? That would be interesting for
What do
us.
you think, Nicola?
I think that there is something that I think is very valuable for a DAO, which is what Bitcoin brought to us is you can have software and a network of users enforcing private property in a digital way. And I think at DAO, you can draw a very similar parallelism. Entities, individuals can self-coordinate with some rules that don't have to be necessarily enforced by a government or by, but they can be enforced. You can write, there can be a small set of written rules that can govern the organization, and these written rules can be enforced by programs. And this is this smallest way I see a DAO, like a small set of rules that people decide about how our community gonna interact or govern, or how can you create incentives for creating behavior that you care for your product.
So the smallest thing would be a voting mechanism and some rules around a pile of cash, like a treasury, something like that.
In my opinion, there is not even a need of a treasury. The smallest DAO that I think, if you think about what is the bare DAO, the bare DAO is just a contract that has the tokens or some sort of voting mechanics. The rules are very simple, and they can vote what this smart contract can do. So it could be that this smart contract could deploy another smart contract that is going to offer a service. It can be this generic. I think that things that start this generic are complex and definitely a niche. I think I'm more interested personally in DAOs that say we are a DAO that wants to preserve. The purpose of the DAO is to preserve humanity information, and so people make some preservation DAO, and they vote together what are the files that need to be stored and preserved for a long period. You can think of this as a borderless association where the rules are not written in the law, but they're written in a program. But yeah, the smallest thing would be voting.
But I think what is important is that the rules don't need to be written. There could be DAOs. There could be DAOs that are very decentralized and just function without any written rules. There will always be certain limitations for what these organizations can do. And if they want to go beyond that, I believe governance always needs at least 3 elements. That's rules, where you say like what you can do and what will happen if you don't adhere to those rules. Then an effective execution mechanism. So like if there's a consequence to something, like how is that done? And then a dispute resolution mechanism. And if you have all those organized, either explicitly, like written down or in code, or implicitly, then you have a complete governance.
Cool. Very interesting. And we have the last participant. Well, hold on. Let's see if we have one more. One more. We're pushing the limit. There we go. Excellent. Thank you very much. Thank you. Hello, welcome.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. What is your name?
My name is Urs.
Urs. Tell us a little bit about yourself, Urs.
Well, I'm a digital entrepreneur since 25 years. I've been through many startups, through many cycles, but currently I'm involved into creating a decentralized organization as decentralized social media combined with decentralized commerce, combined with decentralized finance.
So you hit Amazon, Facebook, and Twitter all
at the same
all
time.
at the same time.
All
I
in
like
one.
you. I like you.
All in
Good.
one.
Excellent. So the next thing that we're going to talk is very interesting because can I tell you? Let me just disclose this. I did not pick these people that came up. They just came up in the order that we needed them. This is like when you're playing, it's 17 black, and it's 17 black. We're going to talk about the future of the DAO now. So I want you to start. We had a great conversation out there of where you see the DAOs going, because we sort of went through what they were, what were the problems that they have, what were the benefits, and now in our closing, it's like, where are we going in with DAOs?
Right. I think that there are 2 directions that I find interesting. One is a direction where the DAO becomes more and more a set of rules, more and more automated, more and more a program. So ideally, I don't know, it could be AI, or it could be markets that independent parties make decisions that then make the DAO choose in a way or another way. So one is more and more program, more and more autonomous. The other one is more and more community. And as we discussed before, we used to have online communities. We still have them. Reddit is this place where there's many online communities where some are very large. They count millions of people. In 2021, we've seen Wall Street Bets that happens to be a group of individuals that could take down big hedge funds. But most of these online communities always had content and moderation, but they never had asset or treasury to manage or to spend. The moment you can give an online community, so people that don't necessarily know each other, but they know how to self-govern themselves, in the case of online communities through moderation, these online communities could organize themselves to be a little bit more than a community that can spend resources, that can buy assets together. And so there's a new phenomenon or, model of nations that some people are putting out there, which is this idea of cloud nations. A cloud nation is a nation where their citizens, they don't need to be living in the same place. And the moment that you have a large community that shares maybe a similar vision or similar interest, and now that they have treasury and they have multiple layers of governance, they could be providing more than just an online forum community type of service. becoming a citizen of one of these online community could be useful for resolving conflicts with multiple layers of a court system. It could be that whoever owns a passport in this online community has access to some digital services, whether it's access to some homes that the DAO decided to buy in a shared fashion. And so you can really incentivize new forms of massive online communities that have the ability to spend, invest, coordinate, offer services, not just to others, but also to their own members.
On a global scale. And I think that's, the world has become one. We hear sort of...
If there is
you know,
one DAO, yes.
One DAO. How about you?
Yeah, I like to think about this in short to midterm and long term. So short to midterm, I believe one of the biggest steps for DAOs today will be learning about governance, learning what they can do, what they will need as tools, and understanding how to do that. And then in the long term, I think there will be a choice between how to organize whatever you want to organize. Because I don't believe that everything's going to become a DAO. I also don't believe that everything's going to go back to central. One of the biggest benefits for me is to have a choice. And in the future, we'll be able to say, like, okay, this is much better organized in a decentralized fashion because we have a large crowd, it's across borders and so forth. Or some more smaller or like local things to say, like, we don't need a DAO for that. We'll just go with the old ways and that's going to be fine.
How about you, Urs?
Yes, so I would like to connect with what you were talking about. So you were first asking for the definition of a DAO. So my definition of a DAO is it's like a democratic country without territory. So it's exactly combining what you have already stated. So users have a passport. But the big challenge here is that countries don't want to accept other countries because they have to give way of independence. They have to respect something they cannot control. And this is the big challenge which we need to have to work out. And so that we need to have this collaboration between countries with territory and countries without territory, which are going to be the DAOs. And so this has something which has to develop over time. And I believe this is going to develop within the next 2 to 5 years.
I really like that concept because I agree. I agree with the concept that DAOs can be countries without territories. And if we look at history, what we have been fighting and are fighting today is about territory. And if people have a choice where they want to participate and belong to, it's a drastic difference. Because now you're not bound by your Italian, Swiss, American passport. You relate with people that share the same values. And I think one of the things that's very important in terms of DAOs is values. Because organizations that share values, I think, are the ones that end up advancing. And the ones that don't share the values and are there for a specific short-term benefit, those are the ones that are short-term. So I think it's very interesting because we are in a place where we can create whatever we want. And it's in all of our hands to be able to do it and to participate. And I think that's my fascination for the DAO. That's why I decided to do some deep research in terms of it. And I think we're going to see an advancement in terms of the implementation of DAOs, and hopefully one day we could even implement them in democracy and in government for greater transparency. So thank you. I think our time is up, and so my son doesn't kick me out. Is the stage. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you for doing it, and thank you.